All right. Make sure I'm not muted on Zoom. Oh, Jane is here.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Gina. How are you?
Good.
Good. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna use you for a minute. Can you see my YouTube channel by chance?
Yes.
Okay.
I pulled that up first, and actually I can mini screen it and pull it up here. Yes, it says waiting.
It still says waiting.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it actually being live. So
Okay. Let me click back out of it and then click it again.
okay. I think we're live now.
Okay.
On my phone, it looks that way. Do you see the same thing?
No. But the live chat is up. Maybe if No, it still says it's waiting for you, which is odd. And I just left out of it.
Okay. On my phone, it looks that way. Do you see the same thing? All right, I'm seeing the recording. So if you will do me a favor, Miss Jana, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself on my phone. It's really delayed. If you can maybe watch for let's see where am I at? Because I can see it, but you say you can't. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking at my computer. You muted. You can see it on YouTube, yes or no? Okay, so if you go over to the live tab, this is where it messes up, and I can't figure out how to fix this. But if you go over to the live tab, you're muted right now. I can't hear if you're talking to me.
It could just be my phone, so I'm not sure if anybody else is in the chat.
Well, there is, because if I look at the live tab on my YouTube channel, I see us live at the top, and then I see 4 waiting in the other one.
You're on mute, I believe.
I am? No. Hang with me, y'all. If you can see me, just hang with me. I want to make sure. Okay.
I can always just exit out and if you want me to come in a few minutes, like queuing me in after a certain amount of time so I can like share the experience. I'm okay with that.
Okay, that would be fine.
All right.
That would be fine because if okay, there she went. Okay, fine. Here we go. There are 4 people waiting. I want to make sure that they. You can see me and hear me from your channel live. Dana just texted me. Thank you, Dana. Fantastic. I appreciate that feedback. If you can see me and hear me, Dana, if you don't mind sharing it, for some reason it shows up in 2 different places, like where it's scheduled and where I actually am. I don't know why it's different, but if you can help me, I don't want there's people waiting, and I want to make sure that they know that I want to give my best, basically. Hang with me, y'all. Hang with me. so weird. I'm going to share it one more time. This is where I'm at. Share. Copy link. Just on the top. It has you live. Hello, Eleonora. I see you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So good to see you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get, for some reason, whenever I schedule the live, it doesn't show, it gives me two different links. So I have to figure out this technical difficulty. So there's people waiting. So I'm trying to give them the correct link. So if you'll bear with me just 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave it at that. Looks like the number is growing. So I think we're on the right track. All right. What I'm going to do from here is start my presentation, put you on mute, and then whenever I'm done with the presentation, whatever questions you have for me, we will go from there. How's that? Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Sounds great. Okay, wonderful. Put you on mute, and then here, and then I hit record. All right, here we go. We are officially starting this YouTube live. Welcome everybody. Pardon the technical difficulties. We are officially going to get started. I tried to make it as streamlined as possible and learn from my mistakes, but hey, it's always a work in progress. So here we go. Going to shit me out of this one. That one is muted. We are here. Share screen. More. Mute and share. No, present, not download. Here we are. Okay. How to break into private aviation in 6 weeks or less. That is the goal for today too. I know that for some people, they're like, that's just impossible. There's no way that you could break into private aviation. And it is. I am starting my second round of mentees starting tomorrow. And we have had 16 students this past round, and we are well on our way for success for those. So I'm going to break it down for you on how to do so. So who is this training for? It is anyone desiring to be in private aviation, people that are sending in countless applications with absolutely nothing happening, not even an automated response. I have been there. I have been in that situation. I have a story of a specific moment in time where I'm sitting on a gray plush chair and I am crying because I am absolutely frustrated because I'm sending out all these resumes. I can't get anybody to even look my direction, like even do a grunt. And I'm completely lost. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm missing. So if that is you, you're in the right spot. If anybody that has a commercial or hospitality career experience, or someone that has a desire to serve others, or if you're simply looking for a career change, or you've had an unexpected career pivot. So to be clear, it is a common misconception that you have to have aviation experience to be in private aviation. That is not the case. It does not matter if you have ever flown before or if you do not have any aviation experience. I teach you how to gain those things to have aviation experience before even being a flight attendant. So the plan of action here is the first one is I'm going to tell you a personal story, and then I'm going to give you, and then the second step will be the due process, where you then have the choice of making, there's two choices to make, whether you can go at this alone with the information that I share with you, or you can join me and my other group of mentees where we do it together in a mentorship where we give you a customized action plan of wherever you live, and whatever experiences you bring to the table, that we create it together for you to have success by the end of the 6 weeks. And then ending it with a success story of where I currently am and why I'm even here today. So I flew for Delta Airlines in 2000, from 2008 to 2012 for 4 years. Thought I was living the dream life. That was what I wanted to do, but there was still something missing. I've flown to, I think I'm at 38, 39 countries at this point. And I thought that was living the dream, but there was still something missing. I had health stuff that I needed to take care of, but there was also I didn't feel like it was being used to my creativity and my hospitality. Like I was being in this box of like, I had to fit in the Delta box. I had to fit, and there's nothing, I'm not talking bad about Delta whatsoever, but I felt like I was being pressed and that I was not being used, or I was shining like I could, like I felt like that was, I could possibly do. I took a break from Delta from 2012 to 2019, taking care of my health, and in the process doing some other things, but the love for aviation never went away. So from 2019 to 2021, I started what I call flopping around, a fish flopping around on dry land, trying to figure out what do I do? Like, I know that aviation, like I had gotten better, and I know that aviation is what I wanted to do, but I didn't know, like, what do we do? Like, I'm like, so let's just start applying. Like a friend of mine, she says, have you ever thought about private flying? I said, actually, I haven't. And so that's when that process began. So I started sending out applications, what I thought was a good resume. And I was getting absolutely no response whatsoever. I can't even tell you how many applications I sent in, but it was like nothing was happening. Like I said, I had this story of like, I'm sitting in my gray plush chair with like just crying, like praying, like, Lord, what am I doing? Like, what am I missing? There's something missing here. What is it? And then, so I flopped around like that for about 2 years. And then in 2021, it was all of us. There was the last Sunday of June that I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done not knowing what like something's got to shift. Like, I know that I'm supposed to be in aviation. I know that there is a life out there in that, but I have absolutely no idea what to do. So the only thing that I knew to do was go to where the private jets were. There are private jets in Arkansas where I was living at the time. And I did network with people there as far as other other companies, but pilots that I had known forever, but nothing was happening. So I even had a little bit of the networking aspect, which I'll get to in a minute, of like, that's where your lifeline is. I had a little bit of it down, not even knowing how important it was. But there was something that shifted in me in that June of 21 after flopping around for 2 years of like, something's got to change. So I packed up everything in my, I like anything that would fit into my car. I had a 99 white Buick at the time. And anything that fit into my car, including my 2 dogs, that's what I took to Florida. I was like, I know that there's a plethora of planes in Florida, so that's where I'm going to go. I knew I didn't want to move to New York. I'd already lived in New York with Delta, and I knew I didn't want to go to California, and I knew that those were like the top 3 places to be. But I just knew that. So Florida, basically, it was like, that was where I was supposed to go. So for the month of July of 21, I sold everything. I sold everything in my house. And if I didn't sell it, I literally put it out on the front lawn and told all the neighbors to have at it. Whatever you want, it's yours. I had a yard sale, and that basically got me my last little bit of rent before to pay rent for August of 21 in Florida. When I did go to Florida, just to be clear, I didn't have an action plan. I didn't have a job lined up for me. I had no idea what I was going to do when I got there. I just knew that I had to be in the surroundings of business aviation and start figuring it out. So that's where that started. So this is where I'm going to talk about the due process of where you can, let me finish this. There's one other thing I want to say. When I did get to Florida, I had work within 3 weeks. Ever since when I got to Florida, ever since that time, I have sustained a living in South Florida. I have also bought a car. Rent's not cheap anywhere anymore. There's obviously been drastic change over the past several years, but I have sustained a living contracting, not even being full-time, but contracting over the past 2 years. So here we are at this point where it's like, you have 2 directions. Are you going to go at this alone, or are you going to go with a mentor? And what I want to emphasize is that I am doing the 6-week break into private aviation challenge. So basically everything that I flopped around with the 2 years that I flopped around trying to figure stuff out, I am narrowing it down into 6 weeks of like, if you do this step by step, you will be on your road to success at the end of 6 weeks. We will have weekly one-on-one calls where we create that custom plan wherever you live, whether it's New York, Texas, or wherever it is. We will create a custom plan based upon where you live, or if you're planning to move. I've had a few that have talked about moving. So we create a plan of where you are, because each road is different. Then we have weekly group coaching calls where we focus on a specific subject of creating clarity. There's been sometimes confusion over what an FBO is versus an operator, and how do you approach people? How do you actually network and whatever? We focus on that in the group coaching calls. And then the past founding members, I had 16 founding members over the past 8 weeks. We actually extended it 2 weeks. You'll have access to those group coaching calls and what they learn from those, as well as a WhatsApp group chat, video modules that's continually evolving. And I'm actually working on with this next group of version 2.0, and you have lifetime access to all of this, the community, all of the videos, everything. And you can find all of that information at yoursinflight.com. yoursinflight.com/VIP, yoursinflight.com/VIP. That's where you will sign up. I do want to be clear about something, that this is not a flight attendant training. There's a plethora of flight attendant trainings as far as like how to be a flight attendant, what like your safety training or culinary or butler, whatever it is. This is not that. What this is, I'm teaching you how to find work, because I have found a gap in the industry where there are all of these trainings of how to do things, but they don't teach you the who. And that's really, really, really where it boils down to. That is your oxygen, is the who. Who is in your network? Who do you know? And that's the other part of the one-on-one calls that we go through. We start digging into people you may not even thought about, but but my brain and my eyes and my ears are attuned to like looking for those things of like, who does that person know? Who does that person know? And it may not even be one person deep, it may be 2 or 3 people deep, but we learn to how to get into those grooves of like, oh, let's go explore that and see who they know. And you never know where it will lead. Back on track of this, the ultimate goal is this is teaching you how to find work. Now, I will say there are other things that we do talk about, like resumes. Resumes is important. That is a how, because you do have to have a resume, and that is your key. Like the key is showing your face and people knowing you, who you are as a person. But resumes are important. Your LinkedIn is your place where you can exhibit all of who you are, your plating and your photos. And we go through that, whether to have a photo on a resume or not, and when it's okay and when it's definitely not okay. How to approach FBOs and operators. And you may be wondering, why do you even do that? And I teach that, why it's important to know those things. And then how to have a magic list. What is a magic list? What is an ASAP trip? How do you handle an ASAP trip? Like if you are already in WhatsApp chats or in Facebook groups and they say there's a trip that's popped up and we need somebody at the airport, how do you handle it? There is an etiquette involved, and I see it many times over and over again of just people not having basic etiquette of like how to handle that. And that speaks volumes on your character, on how you handle ASAP trip. And it is also imperative that you handle it well, because that is your ticket to a full-time job. Possibly, not always, but most of the time, because a lot of times the ASAP trips will be, they may be always looking for contractors, somebody to fill in the gap for their full-time person, or that's on vacation, or they got sick, or whatever the reason might be. But a lot of times your contract trips, these ASAP trips, will be a interview per se, because you can put on a face and in a camera and do the interview or whatever, but the ASAP trip really puts you on stage is like, how well do you really do while at work? The final part is MBAA based in Las Vegas. It is the largest business aviation convention of the year. It is ginormous. It is overwhelming, and we prepare for that is the whole point. And if that's not in your radar to go, that's totally fine. And we continue going on your customized path of where you are, because it is an expense. But if you do have the funds to go, I cannot encourage you enough to go. That it is truly life-changing, and that it's back to the point of networking, which I talk about here in a little bit further of why it's so important. But the people that you meet at base are they will be part of your lifeline for many years to come if you know how to nurture it properly, and I teach you that as well. So I want to also go into a little bit about what actually is a CFA. there is a, and when I say CFA, I mean corporate flight attendant. So whenever you hear me say that, that's what I mean. There is a vast difference between a commercial and a corporate flight attendant, and there's a lot of confusion on that. And that the commercial flight attendant is very boxed, and that's what I was talking about in my story with Delta, that I felt very like I was being pressed and not being able to shine and be my true authentic self. But as corporate flight attendant is a human being that has a heart to serve, and they actually live out their hospitality in everyday life where it becomes natural when they're on board. They're also safety minded. On the commercial side, you go through 6 weeks of training, of the safety training, and there's literally, in Delta there's literally 1 day of service, 1 day. And that blew my mind at the time, but that's how they operate, because safety is the most important thing for them. That's like one of the interview questions is, so what's the number one priority is safety. So to put it in perspective, the corporate flight attendant, yes, they are safety minded, but they're not robotic. And in the commercial, it's very robotic. Like, even though my training was whatever many years ago now, I can still do the evacuation commands of getting people out of the aircraft within 90 seconds. It makes you robotic. And in the corporate side, you're not. You are very much about hospitality and service, even in an evacuation, even in a safety minded situation. But whenever you have the heart of hospitality, it comes naturally. They exude the ability to be adaptable, moldable to the constantly changing circumstances as far as service, say everything. You have to be adaptable. You have to be, and yes, they teach that in commercial as well. And you might be able to tell I can niche down a little bit to the commercial side, because there's so much confusion on. I've been in the commercial side, so why is it like it should be natural that I come to the private side, and they really truly are night and day different. So it's like, if you are coming from the commercial aviation side, it's like an extra step of being adaptable and moldable and teachable. It's very important about the being teachable. CFA is willing to hustle and be 1,000,000% committed, whatever the cost. When you're on the commercial side, you go through this year-long process of being hired. Like, you have to do assessment. Like, it takes a year. Sometimes it takes shorter, but I'm using that as, that was my experience. It took a while. It took 2.5 years for me to officially be hired in commercial. So it's like you're at their beck and call. You follow their lead. On the corporate side, it is a hustle. Like, you are meeting people, you're networking. It's a hustle. I'll just put it at that. It's a hustle. And I teach that in the mentorship of what actually does that mean. And like the number one important thing is being 1,000,000% committed. Yes, I can say 100%. You're like, why don't you just say 100%? But I cannot emphasize enough that if you have to be like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. Nobody has to have the story that I did, where I sold everything and whatever fit into my car. I drove 3 days, 1,200 miles to start a life, and that I didn't even have a job waiting for me then. But I'm saying it's that kind of gumption that it takes to be able to make it work in private aviation. So this is my promise to you in the next few minutes. I'm going to teach you one thing that you can do to stand out from the rest, and no one else teaches this. And the number one key to getting hired and how to do it. So, do I have your permission to teach you these things? And all of these things that I'm teaching you, they will lead to a filled calendar of trips. And when I say a filled calendar, I say contract trips. That may not be your thing. You may be looking for a full-time position. And that's something that we establish on the very first one-on-one call is, are you looking for contract or are you looking for full-time? Because those are also a different approach. I encourage people to not go the route that I did and do only contract, because it is so much harder. It is so much harder, but I understand why you wouldn't, because that was the personal decision I made. And we go through that in your one-on-one call. So that way we can decide what is the right part, or what is the right path for you. So let's be clear here about the problem today with the new to industry CFA. So that way we make sure that that is not you. The resumes stink, so they instantly get tossed. So whenever you send in your resume for the job postings that are listed, there's some have the system. I cannot give it off the top of my head. It's a acronym of the system that automatically reads it, whether it's got the certain keywords or whatever. It has to pass that. But today in corporate aviation, a good majority of them are eyeballs. They're looking at your resume. So there's what a mentor of mine calls it the grunt test, that if it doesn't instantly pass that moment of like just looking at it for like just that split second, he also says 6 seconds. But in my mentoring and looking at resumes with people, I don't even find myself looking at it that long. I like 6 seconds even seems really long. And especially if you've got 100 resumes and you're the one that's hiring and you've got at least 100 resumes sitting there. And I'm thinking, okay, if I've got 100 resumes, if I take a minute one, am I looking at black and white paper or black and white digital copy for the next hour and a half to 2 hours is not something that's exciting to me. So think about it that way. So if to stand out within that first grunt test, couple seconds, what do they see? What is it that instantly makes them go, oh, let's take a look at this one a little bit longer? What is that? That's the problem with today. Is like, what does your resume say about you? The other part is no courage. We stay behind our computers, filling out applications, staying behind like for video. Like, are you dressed the part just from like here up, or are you dressed the part so that way you feel professional? Do you feel like it takes courage to get out from behind the computer, dress the part, go to the FBO, go to the operators, hit the road, and actually meet people face to face? Not many people teach that. Not many people encourage that, but I'm telling you, it is life-changing. Whenever you start meeting people, that you can start following up with them, and that you can start actually working, like sending them an email or even visiting them once a week, every other week, once a month, you choose whatever situation you're in. Like if you're in South Florida and you've got all of the airports from Palm Beach all the way down to Tamiami, that's a lot of airports that you can cover. And it may end up being like once a month. But my point is that courage, that's what it boils down to. You stay behind the computer and you're not actually out hitting the road, meeting people. And the other thing is, what if I told you there were tons of jobs that don't even get posted? That is the other thing that people will be waiting for and watching for, is they're watching LinkedIn and they're watching the Facebook groups, or whatever it is, wherever you're watching. bizjetjobs.com, that's the website that I use every day, waiting for those jobs to be posted. But what if I told you there were jobs that would become available and you not even know about it because you're staying behind a computer filling out applications that get posted? What if you beat them to the punch and they already know about you and they're like, hey, Nat, we got this job, and then they don't even post it because they know who you are already? So going to the first promise is one thing I do to stand out from the rest that no one else teaches us. I stop sending out resumes only when they ask for them. So I actually go knock on doors. Like I go find out who are the operators in my area and who are the FBOs in my area. Now, just to be clear, FBOs do not hire flight attendants, but they are the gateway to where everybody comes. The passengers, they may have just bought a jet. The pilots, flight attendants, they're the first ones that normally know when they're hiring in the company. So you would be one of the first ones to know. Let's say you're working at an FBO, you're the customer service agent, and you come across a passenger. I have a good friend. That's how she found her job. Her Part 91 account, which is a private owner, she was a customer service agent behind the desk, and he loved who she was as a person. Like, she had a bubbly personality. She was very, it was a fit. That's what it boils down to with a Part 91 account, is the perfect fit. And he saw that. The job was never posted, but he knew that he just bought a jet, and there she was. See what other operators are in your geographical area. I touched on this a little bit ago, and then go introduce yourself, and then follow up with them every week. Now, that may sound very aggressive. I have talked to several operators and asked them, how often do you want to hear from me when I share my availability? And there's as much as you want. I said, so once a week, twice a week is not too much? Nope. Because whenever there is a job that's going out when there is a trip being processed, there are so many moving parts that for you to come in and be a breath of fresh air and just like fill in that position and not make it any extra, like asking all of these different questions or whatever, but knowing that you're top of mind, they know how much you hustle. They know that you've been following up with them every single week. They're like, we know we got somebody. We know that she's going to take care of it. We're just going to call on you, and you got it from here. And they can be like, eliminate that part of the trip being a success, was knowing that you're right there. The number one key to being hired. What happened there? Oh, here we go. Networking. That's what that is. I was like, what did I forget? Fill the rest of that out. The number one thing to getting hired, which was my second promise, and to have a constantly filled calendar is you must have the ability to network. I haven't made a separate slide all for it. It is a must. Networking is an absolute must. I will use a personal story from today, from actually, not today, 24 hours, 48 hours. There was someone, we had a South Florida flight attendant meetup. I'm wondering if she's in the YouTube chat because she saw that I was doing it. So if she's in here, you can say hi because you'll know that I'm talking about you, but I won't mention your name. In that she came down to the South Florida meetup that we had 3 weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. And it was the first time I'd ever met her. And she spoke Russian, and she had a commercial background for 12 years, I think it was. So she's a hustler. She drove down from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale, which is a solid 2.5, 3 hours, just for a get together. And there was maybe 25 of it at a South Florida meetup. We were meeting at Da Vinci, just hanging out and meeting each other, networking. Well, there was someone that had posted yesterday or the day before looking for a Russian speaker based in Miami. And I remembered her from the South Florida meetup that she spoke Russian, and shared her information with her, went to this person that was asking for the Miami Russian speaker and said, I just met this woman. I'm sorry, not a girl. Met this woman 3 weeks ago. She's a hustler. She comes from a commercial background. She drove down from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale to meet for the meetup. And because she made that effort to come down, she took the referral. I said, I have absolutely no investment in her. Like, I'm just referring her because I've met her, and she would be a great fit from what I know based upon what you're sharing. And based upon that, we'll see what happens. But she thanked me because it was actually having an unbiased referral. That's what it boiled down to, was the networking. That's what it boiled down to right there. That's basically, yeah, I just talked about that. The second promise of the how is meet local CFAs. Find out where the local CFAs are for you. There are WhatsApp chats for the local groups. Ones that I know of, you do have to have the requirement of the safety training of going to FACS or flight safety. And please keep that in mind, that those are the two safety training companies, not industries. Two safety training companies is Air Care FACS and Flight Safety International. There are others there, but those two, Air Care FACS and Flight Safety International, are the ones, they're like the Harvard and Yale of safety training, and they're the ones that are most recognized. So I encourage you to please stick with those when it comes to safety training. Back on track. That was a small detour, but it's an important one. The how, WhatsApp groups, that's where I was going with that, because the ones that I know of, you have to have that first before going into those. So if you are safety trained and you are not in those WhatsApp groups, reach out to me and I will direct you into that direction. IG, I am not that great at IG, but I do stories. I do stories often, not often, I do stories, but I have found that just staying active in that realm and tagging other flight attendants and just staying top of mind with other people, it's helpful for the referral aspect as well. And then creating your magic list and following up every single week. I cannot emphasize it enough. Like that right there, the magic list and following up every single week. It is monotonous. Sometimes it's annoying and frustrating and disheartening. Like my contract list is probably at least 150, 200 people on it. I say people, operators, which include however many people. Like, so it gets actually bigger than that. And out of that many people, I probably get a response, maybe 5 or 6, maybe. Sometimes not any. There's a couple that I always hear from, no matter what. They will always respond, thanks, Nat, received, hope you're doing well, talk to you soon. But my point is that it can be disheartening and just discouraging because nobody's responding to you. But but there are other operators that they wouldn't respond. And I'm talking 8 and 9 months later, they're like, Nat, we got an ASAP trip out of Fort Lauderdale in the morning at 6 a.m. Can you do it? And I'm like, well, hello, where have you been? So that is like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened. So stay encouraged. If you're doing your work, doing the hustling on that aspect of it, they will come out to you. So now we're down to the due process, where you can do it the hard way, which like I did for 2 years, or actually it's really been 4 years. I never really did have a mentor. I guess I never really actually said that. I had a quote unquote, like a mentor later on. It was more of a grab from these certain people just because I've approached things completely different. I'm a go-getter, I get things done, or I don't do it at all. It's one or the other. But if I had someone come to me in the beginning and say, if I could help you get into the industry within 6 weeks, would you do it? I would have been on that, like, I would be on that so fast. Like, I would be so excited, like, yes, let's do it. Like, where do I sign? What do we do? Can we start now? Is that okay if we start now? Like that, like, to have somebody come to me, like the process of doing this the hard way and figuring this out, because it's such an elusive industry. There's not the black and white of step 1, 2, 3, but I help provide that. It's because based upon the industry being private, it's like, that's what people pay for, is privacy. So I create that black and white step 1, 2, 3 of how to break into the industry. So now it comes down to you deciding, are you going to continue down the hard path of doing this on your own and figuring it out, taking the information that I've shared with you, or are you going to join with me and the group? Because it's not just me. It's not just what Natalie says. It's not at all, because I have guest speakers that come talk about resumes and LinkedIn and interview questions. I've even been in touch with local caterers for us to do some culinary stuff on the group calls. Like, it's more than just me. I'm helping bringing people to you, people that I have spent these past several years creating in my little community, per se. I don't know how you want to say it, but I'm bringing people to you in like a fast forward motion, which loses, like, it cuts off so many years and just time, frustration. I also teach you how to gain aviation experience if you're coming from a background that you don't have any aviation experience at all, which is fine. It's totally fine. It's all based upon the fit. I teach you how to have that aviation experience without actually having it before. Teach ways to be noticed and ways to be remembered. So now it's up to you for the action. It's an action plan of what's the next level for you. Do you feel confident that you can go on your own, or would you rather have the accountability? I have a few of my students that at the very, very beginning, they scheduled out their one-on-one calls every week for the next 6 weeks. If that's what you need, then let's do it. That kept them accountable. Some of them would even, like, I've had a busy work week and I didn't have time to do my homework this week. Do you still want to meet? I don't want to waste your time. Or do you still want to touch base? I'm like, let's touch base. Let's do it. Let's just stay in touch to keep the mindset in the right direction of success in private aviation. And just the demeanor of the change of, like, I've been so busy with work, to like, okay, here we go. Let's do this again. I'm able to help you bring that excitement back into making sure that we're staying on track. Back to, I just wanted to end with the success story, just to make sure that you understand that I've lived where you guys have been. I averaged in the past 2 years, I've averaged 10 contract days a month and made a good living in South Florida, where I was able to pay rent. Cost of living is not cheap here. I was able to buy a car. And then my little thing is feed my dogs well. And some people have their thing of, like, they know whether they're doing well at work or not, whether they, like, I had somebody at the dog park the other day tell me, he says, I know that I can buy the good beer whenever I had a good month at work. And then if I've not had a good month at work, he lays turf. And he says, if I'm not, and then I get the cheap stuff, of course, Lighter Michelob Ultra. And I'm like, my thing is I feed my dogs well. I know that I can actually do, like, this subscription-based food versus cooking for them. So my whole point is I have fed them well the past 2 years. That's been my personal thing. And then also just emphasizing again the hustling aspect of it, and the learning and failing, and then learning from the failures. I also didn't have a comfort zone of a full-time job. I also, because of the choosing to contract, and that because of that, I've still had to pay a steady paycheck, averaging 10 contract days a month. So now the question remains, is up to you, of what is for you. yearsinflight.com/VIP of seeing if this is for you. So there's that. Stop the share. Eleonora, starting with you, since you were one of my VIP members, what questions do you have for me that I could help answer for you? And then we'll go to YouTube chat.
I think I'm a little overwhelmed. I mean, it's a good thing. The question is, because I do not have any experience, And I did go door to doors. I spent a week, and after work I would go to White Plains, and I would knock on the doors. I made homemade cookies, and I print my resumes, and I went to local, not really local, it's a 2 hours drive, to FBOs. And I mean, it's not unfortunate, but I did go, and some of them said, thank you for the cookie. You know, there's nobody here to talk to you, but you can leave your resume there. And that's what I did. Some of them said, I'm sorry, we only respond to email. This is our emails. And the emails they would give me were wrong. So I would contact the FBOs again and ask for the proper information. And that's the way I went. I mean, just say hello to people, even if they were a clerk, so desk people. I said, you know what? I don't want to come home back with the cookies, you know, take the whole box with cookies. And they liked it because I had a napkins with that and beautiful box. So they enjoyed it. I got lost a little bit, and I walked into wrong office, and there were fellows there, they were mechanics, and I asked them the question. They said, I'm sorry, we cannot help you. I said, that's okay, but you still can enjoy my cookies. So I did that, and I didn't get anything out of that, which I think it's okay, because you know, the Rome wasn't born in one day. I found a company on the Facebook. I'm not sure if they're good or not. And they helped me to redo my resume. And I became a member of NBAA. So I went to forum in White Plains, which was in June. It was a little overwhelming because I am by myself, and sometimes we feel a little uncomfortable. We don't know anybody around. But I always told myself, you know, if you smile and say hello to people, what's the worst gonna happen? They're just gonna
I like that.
say hello back. So the couple people, they were very friendly. They say, oh my God, you just left. I mean, this lady just left. They were looking for new attendants, and she looked for the card. She found me the card. I came home when when I redid my resume, I sent the emails. So I've been sending emails for a while, and I finally got three emails back with rejections, which I was grateful, because to me, somebody took time to actually read.
Yes.
Most of them said, I'm sorry, you don't have any experience. And, you know, I said, okay, 1 rejection, 2 rejection, 3 rejection of eventually after 10, 15, somebody going to say, we're willing to try.
Yep.
So that's so far, you know, where I've been. My situation, yes, I do have a job, but I don't have contract on the job. If tomorrow somebody call me and say, listen, we have a job in Canada, can you get there in 3 days? I get in the car and I will go there. So I can move anywhere in the world. So there's nothing stopping me.
Right.
So I have that in my pocket, and I do speak a second language. And I have experience in not catering, like catering towards people, not in a way of cooking, but helping them with the needs. I mean, owning several buildings, so there's a lot of party gotta get involved in order things to be done. And as of now, I work as a private aide in a nursing home, so there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of things needs to be done. So I always been in workforce of taking care of other people, and I actually love it. So
cool. All right. So was there specific question, like you've got the hustle aspect. I have absolutely no doubt on that, or even any kind of like, that's there for sure. So the suggestion that I would give right away, talking about the follow-up, when I was saying like where I was following up with my people for 8 or 9 months every single week, 8 or 9 months, and absolutely no response. And sometimes I would want, like, and I knew they were real people. Like I had it wasn't like info@whatever.com. It was an actual person's email. I would be emailing them every week, and then 8 or 9 months later, they call me out of the absolute blue. And I can't tell you how many times that happened. But so that's the discouraging part, that that's why the list needs to be so big, where rejection just becomes second nature. Like it took me a minute to realize that, but once I did, like, rejection it's just part of it. It starts to not bother you after you've had it so many times, of like, okay, so this place is not for me. There is a place for me. This place is not it. So the follow-up is huge. Like the one, like, just thinking that somebody will remember you after one time. Yeah, if you make an impression, like you bring the cookies, that's the point of like making some kind of impression. But they will begin to see the hustle aspect of like, you were there every week, or you're calling every week, or you're emailing every week. But the face-to-face interaction is priceless, for sure.
Yeah, that I didn't get there yet. I mean, like I said, in Long Island, there is several FBA, and some of them said, I'm sorry, we don't see, you have to make an appointment, or emails
Sure.
only. The guy
Yes.
actually opened the door and kind of sneak his face, like, who are you? Do you have an appointment? So, and I think it's changed after COVID. So,
Yes, it did. New York did change after COVID.
yeah.
Yes, it did.
So the thing is, when I see advertisers on LinkedIn, or I got membership with Jet Aviation. Okay.
BizJet jobs.
Yes.
Okay.
So I sign up for monthly services. So I
Okay.
have to go there, and I sign up for other, like, I probably have on my computer maybe 5 companies that I sign up, and some of them it's called oh my god,
Okay.
Crew Blast. I
Oh,
go
yes.
on a Crew
Mhm.
Blast, and every so often, I got the email from them, we were looking for this, for that. I reply, I didn't get anything. The When I see the applications, and when they say 3 to 5 years experience, so I kind of hold back. I said, do they really gonna hire somebody like me? So, and then I spoke with somebody from Tirabo Airport. Those are people who supposed to not help you, that people that I send the emails, every week, telling them,
Mhm.
okay, I am available this week and next week. They helping with temporarily like a temporary employers employment, hoping that eventually somebody gonna like you enough to hire you, either company or the family. But they, one of the lady brought a point. She's kind of said, it's going to be very hard for you to be hired because you don't have any experience. You need to find somebody who's gonna
Don't
take
listen to her. Don't listen to her.
I listen, I call her back and I said, what's the point of me? What's the point of you to tell me to send you messages if you actually don't believe that I can do that? And I think I got a little bit, I made my point across a little bit. I wasn't, I was polite, but I make sure that
Gotta
she,
let it go.
so she,
Gotta let it go.
so
I mean, I understand your frustration, but there's
I mean,
also
I am frustrated, but I'm not as frustrated because I know I'm gonna get it. So I'm not
That's all that
gonna
matters.
be,
As
gonna-
long as you know, as long
Yeah,
as you know, that's all that matters. Because
I'm
if you
not
know
gonna
and you
be-
believe, the rejections will just
I'm
be.
not gonna be one of those people that 5 rejections, or let's say 2 months no, and then suddenly when I give up, that's the day when I'm gonna get something. So I'm never gonna be one of those people, and I don't care how tall I am, how short I am, experience, no experience. I
want to make sure we put this in perspective. I tell people that when you're really truly applying, like a resume is top notch and you're proud to hand it out, you should be handing out that sucker 100 a month. Like you should be finding places to put it, whether it be in person, whether it be over email. like whenever you're handing out that, which is 3 a day, or you can do 10 a week, however, whatever works for you, but just put it in the perspective of how much you're applying. So whenever you're applying that many times, think of how many, it makes the rejection easier as well, because you're like it's just because it comes to a point that whenever you're applying to so many places, that whenever somebody does respond to you, you have to go back and look like, who is this? Like you have like it's not, because if you've only applied to like your 5 or 6, you know it instantly. When they respond, you know instantly who it is. You need to be in a mental place of like, you have to go back and look who it is, because you've applied to so many places. You're
Right.
hustling that much. So just to put that in perspective, I know that that's a common thing, and that people talking about being rejected every once, you know, however many times, it's part of it. And that you have to flow with it, like because it really boils down to the fit. Like that is why private is segregated. What's the word I'm looking for? It's different, because in any other job, like whether it's commercial or whatever office job, you have to fit into that company's box. You have to fit. It doesn't matter who you are as a person, but you get suppressed because you need to fit into their box. Private aviation is the complete opposite, where you get to be who you are, where you shine, what your strengths are, and it's finding that place where you fit. And then when you put it, and whenever your mindset is in that factor, the rejections become, oh, well, that wasn't it. I didn't fit there. I thought maybe I did, or whatever. But it becomes easier because the mindset is huge. It's everything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really, I was actually happy when the first rejection came. I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, somebody actually read my
Answered you.
email.
Yeah.
You know, it's number one. Second came, I'm like, okay, that's my second. Third came, I'm like, okay, hallelujah, I got the third one. So the rejection means absolutely nothing to me. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
you know, it doesn't hurt my feeling. You just scratching the surface.
Awesome. Jana, are you still with us? I'm calling on you, Jana.
I sure am. Sorry, it took me a second to get to
No, it's all
the
good.
mute button.
I saw you chatting in the YouTube. So
In the
thank
YouTube, yes.
I did.
was like, I
So
don't know if
thank
she's
you
going to
for
make an
doing that.
announcement, so let me just get in here and then have my camera out.
You did awesome. Thank you. Jana is one of
Absolutely.
my first students from the first founding members. And I wanted to, if you don't mind, sharing your
I do not.
experience. You're so kind. So so just putting in perspective of if there was somebody that hasn't joined the mentorship, what value have you found being in it versus if you had taken the road on your own?
Incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. Because a lot of times when you don't know anything about aviation and you think about corporate aviation, it's the complete opposite of what versus commercial. So it can take you quite some time to figure out the ins and out and what exactly is you need on your end in order to get into it. And this program literally has every single thing. And when you do find out those things, you don't know how to do it. And this program breaks down how to do those things and give you the information and put you in the networking circles. We had people from everywhere in our group. Natalie was able to tailor it to every single member. That's tremendous amount of work. Honestly, my hat's off to you, Natalie. But from resume, networking, to small details of what the job is like on a day-to-day basis, like catering and cleaning and everything you can think of, this program has it. Any question you have, she's right on top of it. It was amazing. My biggest insecurity was my resume and my introductory letter. And I found out it's introductory letter now, not
That's something we learned together.
Right.
Yes. It's not a cover letter, it's an introductory letter. Yep.
Yes, it sounds way much more better. Those were my biggest, like I said, insecurities.
Awesome.
I left the program, confidence through the roof.
I can tell you've changed. You've changed. You have, like, beautiful to see.
And then on top of that, Natalie also gives you other people in the industry to help you with other things that you might need help with. Like, it's a lot of love. It's a lot of detail.
Oh, that's it right there.
It really is. And you really will not get this anywhere else.
the convenience, the one-on-one call. You get a one-on-one call after too, so it's even more private. Like if you have any questions that might have been in your head that somebody in the group didn't have, or you need a little bit of help that might be different, like this program is amazing. I feel like she said, you can get a job tomorrow. If you know what to do, you know how to go and look for stuff in the posting, you know what training you're going to need, where you should go from your home base. Everything is at your hand. It's just a matter of your situation and how bad it is that you want to go and get it, and the, circumstance that you might be in the moment. But for sure, once you're done, you are good to go.
Empowerment. Is that a good
Absolutely.
word?
That is
Empowerment.
definitely the word. Empowerment is
Because
definitely
I remember you starting, and that was one of the biggest things was like you were one of my best question askers. Like, I don't know, that doesn't sound like the proper way to say it, but like I can't, and you can attest this. I came to you, was like, can you write down all the questions you asked me, because they were so they were like, she's hungry. She was very hungry, and it was an honor to be able to fill that hunger for her. But they were so well asked that I could tell that she just needed that empowerment. And so whenever I gave her that empowerment, like she shines. And so
that goes back to the first thing that I was saying. I was at this a year before coming into your program. So all those questions I had were the answers that I couldn't find, because again, this is private aviation. So if you're not in these networking circles or going to these events, you're not going to be able to find all this information. So things that my mind is boggled on. Okay, I have opportunity to ask everything now. So like I said,
right. Yeah, you're right.
This is the program for you, for sure.
I remember you said that because you were talking about it is challenging. Like, yes, there are mentors out there that do this for free, but there's a difference whenever somebody, like, I'm not even flying. I haven't flown in 2 months, maybe just shy of 2 months, because I've dedicated all of my time to this mentorship program. And whenever you have someone that's completely dedicated to be there for you, like there were ASAP trips that have popped up for people, and I was able to help them like say what they needed to say, or like having an etiquette. I talked about that a little bit in the presentation. If there's an etiquette involved whenever you have an ASAP trip, having someone in your pocket that's just right there, no matter what. Like, I do put my phone on do not disturb when I go to sleep at night, but that's my sleeping hours of like 9 to 9.
Very important in this industry.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you for that, Jana. I really appreciate that. And I am
Whenever
proud
you
of
need me, hit me. I'll definitely give a testimony.
Thank you. You're
Thank
very
you.
kind. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. And thank you again, Jana. I see your comment. Thank you again for being there for me in the chat. I'm gonna look in this other one just to make sure there's not any over here. Nope. Eleonora, any other question I can help answer for you before we close off?
My questions are always the same. I mean, not the same. My question are, so it is possible in like in a time of 6 weeks to actually maybe get hired without any previous experience?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is a great question. Yes, ma'am. I teach you how to find that aviation experience, whether it be aircraft experience, whether it be aviation experience. Like if you've got strictly no aviation experience whatsoever, I help you find it.
Okay.
Yep.
And you I don't know how to even ask. And
okay.
You can recommend where to send the email and where the I mean, not FBOs, but where the operators are located. Where can I go? Because most of the time, where, I mean, I found them in White.
I empower you. Basically, I give you the information. I don't do it for you, but I empower you. Like Jana was just talking about, I didn't ask her to say any of that. Like that was all strictly her own, and she volunteered to be on here. I sent the link out to all my mentees to see if they wanted to come join, and she volunteered to be here. I give you all of the empowerment that you need to succeed. It's up to you to do it. Like, I can tell that you, like, just what you've shared from today and before, and but when we've had our one-on-one time together, you are a hustler. Like, when I talked about that's what a CFA does, is we hustle. It's, I give you more directed hustle, so that way you're not just flopping.
Right, that's the main thing to me. I don't want to waste time, because
Yes.
if I go somewhere and it's a wrong place, I'm just wasting time, while I could be in completely the other side of New York and do the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and it is upsetting a little bit when the teacher that taught us in flight safety, she got hired because the way she said it, she became friendly with somebody, and that person worked for Jet Aviation, and they
Okay.
had a window, and she just got hired. And then
Okay.
same people from Jet Aviation telling me that it's impossible if you have no education. So, you know, kind of feel like it doesn't feel right, because you just hire somebody, yes, it was 10 years ago, without any experience, and then you tell me that I gotta find somebody who's flying to fly with them. But most of these people, I mean, I only know one girl who's been flying private for quite some times, and every so often I'll ask her, and she's like, oh, I gotta ask permission of the pilot, and they're not allowing, you know, more than one person on a plane. And I respect that.
It really boils down to who you know.
You know,
Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. I really cannot emphasize that enough, because like it comes back to me saying that there are jobs that are jobs out there that aren't even posted, because they're networking all their people, asking everybody of, like, they're looking specifically for, like, they can't, in the USA, you cannot post, I want only a male flight attendant that is 45 years old and has been a chef for 5 years. Like, you can't post that for discriminatory reasons.
right.
But yet, if in your circle of people, you know that somebody's fantastic cooking on board and is a man and is, like, there's all those different factors that you can, it's a matter of the fit. You have to be able to fit into their, it's just a fit. That's why there's so many different opportunities to fly.
Right.
Like, if you put in perspective of, you could fly Duck Dynasty, one, like, there's Duck Dynasty people, and then there's the politicians, and then there's celebrities, and then there's small, like, there's business owners that you don't really know about. Like, there's such a variety of people that
Right.
you have to find your fit. And like, with your background that you have, your language that you speak, there is a fit for, if you believe that private aviation is for you, is my firm belief. If that is your belief, there is a spot for you. It's a matter of finding it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And not having the experience of the people go to culinary school, I don't think I can afford it. I mean, it's
I've never been to culinary school.
right. So most of this,
I'm actually
caterer. Everything
sorry?
is catering. Everything is on the plane gets catering, right?
I'd also teach you, if you don't, like, if you can't, like, there's two roads, like, you've already started down the money road. I teach that of, like, there's two ways of approaching it, whether you have the funds to be able to do the safety training and the culinary training and my mentorship and all of those things. There's that route. And then there's the hard route that I did, that I didn't have the funds. I didn't go to safety training for almost a year. I had a safety training from someone that's not recognized, but it was based upon my networking and meeting people, and the one-on-one connections is how I made a living. So I didn't have culinary training. I didn't even have the proper safety training, but I made a living. It truly is who you know.
Okay. No,
Okay?
I noticed when I was sending my resume, they ask what kind of training you have, and
Sure.
you know, flight safety been known around, so, and they consider, you know, the top, you know, one of the top ones. So I did my safety training, and instead of from the having culinary, I just took the food safety class, which
Okay.
I think it's very important as well.
It is. And I will teach, that's other things whenever deciding to do this, because the closing for this is tonight. I will also give you other options of how you can find culinary experience without going to culinary training.
Okay.
Okay.
And the last question,
Okay.
one-on-one calls, it can be flexible, right? Because I
Of
do
course.
work. Okay.
Yes. Like, that's why I said that there's some that There's some that want that pulling them forward every week to make sure they're being held accountable no matter what's going
Okay.
on in their life, and they schedule them all the way out. And then there's others that do it week by week or every other week, or just kind of whenever, like they have full-time jobs, so they're adjusting with what they can do. But yes, it is completely flexible for what you need.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, very good.
All right. I will stop the screen. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you, Jana, for giving your opinion and your feedback from what your experience has been. My words aren't coming.
Absolutely. I encourage
appreciate it.
anybody thinking about it to please invest in yourself and go ahead and become part of the cohort. This is a very smart investment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. yoursinflight.com/VIP. And the registration closes this evening and class starts tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our first group coaching call. And that is all I have. Thank you, Eleanor, for being a guest on our call today. And I will see you guys next time.
Thank you.
All right.